How's it going, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome to the round 4 of this recent set of feature matches. We're going to have another set of 4 going up this coming week as well, so you have that to look forward to. And going to be posting some test stand videos soon for some decks that are going to be affected by the release of dual overload, such as DDD, Photon, things of that nature. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. And if you guys are interested in seeing a Paleozoic deck profile, it is already uploaded on the channel, so feel free to check that out. And I want to mention that if you guys want to help support the channel at no cost to you guys, you can do so by using that affiliate link to TCG Player. I know Dual Overload is about to come out, so if you guys are buying any singles from that set, feel free to use that link. You'll be help supporting me in the process because I get a small portion back from the purchases made with that link. So if you want to just help support the channel just by normally shopping on TCG Player, clicking that link is the way to do it. So yeah. Getting started here, Paleo going first, winning die roll. As you might expect, they really do want to go first. And opening with the Swap Frog. Very, very strong opening. Probably the best way to start things off. Of course, Lilith is another card specifically in his build. But, you know, being able to special the swap basically means he's getting that turn 1 Toad. And you can expect with that a few set back row as well, as is the Paleo deck. So going to overlay into the infamous Rank 2 rather, the Totally Awesome. Then as predicted, setting a few back row here, 2 to be exact. And looks like his turn will end there, and I imagine we'll see immediately in the standby phase the effect of Totally Awesome to detach the special summon out that dupe frog to sort of create that pseudo lock, if you will, in the battle phase, where he can only attack that dupe frog, keeping his toad safe from the battle phase. So Mermail is getting started here with the Teus, discarding what looks to be a marksman. I do realize there's a bit of a glare there, but it is all right. It is a marksman. So of course our Paleo player will have the opportunity to respond to that. You're gonna have to chain it immediately. You might as well use it instead of just having it, you know, idly go to the graveyard. So of course Teus 2. The infantry, well, I guess you can actually chain block here since both effects are mandatory. So it looks like marksman will actually be 2 and Teus will be 1. And that's going to force the Dynamiscus onto the Teus, discarding Canadia, which is fine. I mean, you're okay with loading up a few more Paleos into the graveyard. It's a bit interesting that he didn't opt to set the Canadia. But I guess he might have another card in hand, or just really wanted to keep a card in hand in general to have as discard, so that makes sense, actually. Although hindsight is 20/20, if you know this is a particular matchup where a card like Book of Moon is really good against specific normal summons, i.e. Prince, because Book of Mooning that card, since it does not activate on summon, is very, very beneficial. So it looks like he's going to be adding a copy of Hild to his hand. Which I believe when discarded special summons a Mermail from hand. Of course, all the Mermails do excel at discarding, and Turge, of course, is no exception. Turge can basically, on normal or special summon, discard a water to add back a level 3 or lower water monster in the grave to the hand, and of course, Marksman is there as the legal target. Going to discard the Hild as well, probably trying to set up some sort of special summon play off of the Hild to get any excess Mermails he may have in his hand out of his hand. Of course, our Paleo player will have the opportunity to try and respond here if he wants to. We're really not seeing this as too much of a threat currently. And as you can see, that Hild coming down, or well, the Hild going through to summon out the Pike. Pike will activate, discarding for cost to add a level 3 water from deck to hand. So there's a myriad of targets you could possibly get within the Mermail stratagem. Even, you know, cards that aren't always played. You know, you have Gen X Undyne that's searchable. You have Oshia. You have Dyne, you have Gund, most notably. You could search Crusadia Arborea. You could even search the Water Hand Trap, the Ghostwood, or Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, whatever its name actually is. So Pike can search quite a few cards, but Gund really being the best one. And as you can see, Gund is going to go through and going to recycle that Marksman. You know, that was actually a pretty interesting play there, recycling the Marksman off of the Turge to give yourself a guaranteed discard for the Pike. Going to be able to use Marksman again here this turn. Is not a once per turn, and that's going to force a Compulse. And that will also allow him to chain a Paleo within the graveyard. And it looks like in our Mermail player's hand, he is playing the swap engine, which is an engine that, you know, can pair pretty well in the Mermail deck, specifically because they are water monsters. So, you know, anytime you're adding an engine into Mermail, so long as it's a water engine, I feel like it has good, you know, synergy. Because at the end of the day, those cards can become fuel, if need be, for your Mermail cards like Megalo, Teus, Pike, etc., etc. But they can also work really well on their own. And as you see here, he's discarded Gund off of, well, going to discard Gund here off of the swap, which will allow him to not only, you know, get a Mermail out of the grave, but also chain link block the swap. Because Gund basically just says it has to be discarded in order to special summon a Mermail from the graveyard. So just checking the texts here on Gund, making sure that it does get its effect if being discarded, especially off the effect of Swap Frog, which it will. So be able to revive essentially one of the cards in his graveyard, which I believe he has a Hilden Grave. I think there might also be a Megalo in grave at this point as well. I think I can't really see what the first card he discarded off of the first swap, but it looks like it was Turge, since that did get bounced back to his hand by the Compulse, since it was forced out via Marksman. So again, just another discard back to his hand. So essentially, that Compulse fueling his plays a little bit there, which I find kind of funny, because he's got a lot of discard effects. The Compulse really not slowing him down too much, because everything is still here, essentially, that was before the Compulse resolved. So now sort of evaluating our Paleo player's graveyard, he does, I believe, still have a Ronin, and he's also debating on whether or not he wants to negate the effect of the Swap Frog, which I guess he did Chainlink 1 Gun, Chainlink 2 Swap, really wanting to get this other monster on the board. So it will negate the effect of, actually not negating the effect of Swap, negating the Ronin in the graveyard, my apologies. So that's why his Totally Awesome was tributed away, because he was negating the effect of Ronin Totem in the graveyard. My apologies. So hopefully I was able to clear that up. But going into Marincess Coral Anemone now to target Swap Engrave to revive it, any water monster with 1500 less attack, but it will lock him into water for the rest of the turn, now attempting to use Ronin Totem again. Banishing, of course, Swap here. Now trying to complete that level 2 Xyz of his own. Of course, another Totally Awesome on one side of the board. Although I feel like this Mermail deck not playing nearly as many Totally Awesomes as, of course, our Paleo players. Probably playing 3 copies absolutely in the Paleo deck, and maybe 2, if that, in the Mermail deck. So he will attack over the dupe, and he will negate that, discarding a Teus, no problem. Turge attacking over the Paleozoic monster and banishing it as a result because of its own effect. And then Marincess Coral Anemone swinging in with 2000. Not a whole lot of damage, but, you know, it's something. And that's going to do it for his turn there. Could have had the opportunity, if he wanted to per se, link into a Mistar Boy to get that 2700 Toad, and of course another opportunity to recycle off of the Mistar Boy. But if you do leave that Anemone there, that is something that you can sort of use next turn to recur something out of the graveyard for more plays. And our Paleo player now starting the turn here with the dupe for Ronin. I believe has another dupe frog in the grave, and we know he has the swap frog in hand. That's what he added back off of that Totally Awesome in the previous turn after negating the Ronin Totem on the other side of the field. And taking a look at Anemone, trying to make sure it does nothing else currently. Again, only revives a water monster in the grave with 1500 or less attack. And the turn that effect is activated, cannot special summon any monsters other than the waters. And I believe it also has another effect regarding the effect of Marincess monsters, where if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a Marincess card back to your hand. So, looks like he'll normal swap for no effect, because he does not want to fall victim, of course, to the Totally Awesome on the other side of the board. And not only that, but give him a swap frog to work with for the next turn. So just going to overlay into the swap, play it slow here, play it safe, go into the battle phase, swing over the Anemone for 200, and setting one back row into that far zone and passing the turn there. And then we'll see the Totally Awesome try to activate here in the standby phase. Of course, trying to summon out a copy of Dupe or Ronin, or even swap whatever's left in the deck at this point. And it looks like our Mermail player is going to negate that. And it looks like the other Toad will negate it as well. So trying to special summon, that Totally Awesome will say no. Then the other Totally Awesome will say no to the other Totally Awesome. So he'll still get to special summon from deck. And not only will he get to do that, but of course each player now going to be able to recycle a water monster back from their grave to their hand. So Dupe Frog having another copy left in deck, he'll get that and also get a Swap Frog back to his hand as a result. And plenty of options now in the graveyard for our Mermail player, a bit more so than our Paleo player. So going for Pike, no Prince, no Teus in grave. Teus was banished unfortunately by Dynamiscus earlier in this game, so not having access to that will hurt a little bit. But it does look like our Mermail player does have a copy of 1-for-1 in hand, which will be very, very nice to have to help push a little bit into some plays. And that is exactly what he's going to do, is just 1-for-1. And don't think anything that set could potentially stop it, although you could possibly have Ash Blossom. That could stop him dead in his tracks, basically just going -2. But the 1-for-1 will be successful, and he's going to summon out Prince. And this is where we're going to see, okay, Trap Trick being activated, and also chaining a Paleo to that. Of course, always got to chain the Paleo. Don't forget those Paleos in the grave, because they surely won't remind you to chain their effects. So we're going to banish Canadia and set Canadia. And activate the Canadia immediately. Of course, as I talked about earlier, Prince does not activate on normal or special summon. It's just simply an on-field effect that you can activate at any point during the game. That will get booked immediately. So its effect will not be able to resolve this turn, unfortunately, because a Prince going through right now would be pretty nice, although he has no cards in hand. So Prince with no cards in hand is kind of bittersweet, because, you know, for example, you can send Dragoons, add Dragoons Megalo, and then you just have 2 useless cards in your hand at that point. But then again, he could go for a card like Diva, since he did not have to burn his normal summon on that Prince, you know, getting out into the field. But, you know, the fact that it cannot resolve here is still a pretty big bummer, if you will. So summoning Alacia now, as really his only remaining option. I believe Dupe Frog having 2,000 defense. There's really nothing on his field he has to get over it. I mean, I guess really the only thing you could do would be to attack the Dynamiscus, but of course the Dupe Frog is there, so you can't even do that. So basically he just gets to keep this Totally Awesome play for next turn, which is unfortunate for our Mermail player. So normal summoning Swap Frog, I believe sending probably Ronin Totem, I would imagine. Yeah. 3 copies of Ronin, maybe 2 copies of Dupe, and 3 copies of Swap within his main deck currently. It's at this point, it's just a matter of clearing the field and really establishing a board that cannot be really dealt with, especially if our Mermail player is in a top decking position. So he'll link off the Dupe and the Swap for a copy of Security Dragon. Security Dragon I see being played a lot more in certain decks, more notably decks like Salomon Great. It is a fantastic link too. Basically, if it is co-linked, you can just bounce a card on, I believe, on your opponent's side of the field back to the hand. It does target, but it is good for removing specific cards in this situation, like Alacia, which if you are the Mermail player right now, you are hoping does get destroyed, because that will mean a you know, quite a bit of pluses for you. And he's going to link into Cerberus, and Cerberus does not have to target face-up monsters, just any special summon monster. So that Prince was special summoned, so we discard Olenoids. And basically not making himself minus here, making sure he gets that co-link draw most importantly. So he'll pick up another card. And now going into Avermax, and now going into double Ronin for a Toad. And that's where I believe our Mermail player is just going to scoop right there, which is pretty unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, at that position, like, you had the option to go into something like you know, IP Masquerena, but that would mean you're missing out on free advantage essentially. So going for the Cerberus there, very, very smart play. in my opinion. So we're heading into game 2, and I want to mention a quick shout out to Imperium Duelist. They have been a sponsor of this channel for quite some time. If you guys are interested in helping support the channel and also picking up some amazing playmats, dice, sleeves, calculator cases, deck boxes, etc., I highly recommend you guys check them out. They got some amazing products on their site, and you can use that discount code down in the description below and on the screen right now. Winner kills 10 off to save 10% off your entire order at checkout. Every time you check out, it's not just a one and done type thing. You can use it as many times as you buy something. So if you want to help support the channel, feel free to check them out. I'm sure you guys will not be disappointed in the stuff they have to offer. They have some really high quality stuff. So getting back here to the game in game 2, Paleo going first, just starting with the swap play and setting to back row. Now we're seeing Teus discarding, I believe, Dragoons. No marksman here at this point, which isn't too bad. I mean, honestly, depending on the matchup, of course. I mean, I'd rather be discarding Dragoons into a couple back row than a marksman. And again, it really does depend on the deck. Of course, you know, like we saw in game 1 where he's able to use Turge in combination with Pike to be able to use that marksman multiple times was actually pretty nice. So actually it didn't look like he discarded anything of value there since there's no effect being activated. So thought it was Dragoons, but it is not. Again, there's a bit of a glare there. I do apologize. I had to move my camera over a table because the table I normally use for feature matches where there really isn't a glare was being occupied. So I do apologize for that. Bear with me. I believe for this next set of feature matches I do get the normal setup. So searching Pike off Teus and then Pike searching Gund. I believe may have not have discarded anything of interest here either. Really just sort of discarding blanks at this point. And that's why I think it's so important in a deck like Mermail. And I think that is ultimately one of its flaws is there's a lot of fluff in the deck. A lot of things that can be played within the deck that are waters, but when they get discarded, they just don't do anything. And that's one of the main reasons why I don't like the swap engine per se, because those are one of those cards. That's like one of those engines essentially, where like if the rest of your hand is mediocre and you have the swap engine or have swap cards to work with, like just swap frog itself or whatever, you're just discarding pretty much your whole hand to get a toad on the board. If you're not seeing cards like Teus, Prince, Megalo, whatever it may be. And then like just opening the Ronin of itself is just kind of annoying. So it looks like earlier in the turn he had discarded Lind off of the Teus, which he does play Sphere and Lind in his build, which is pretty cool to see here in 2020. So Megalo discarding Gund and Mander, and not reviving Mander here for a potential rank 4 play. Now if this were Master Rule, you know, for revision, revise, that could be a pretty cool play to bring back Mander to possibly go into it, Bahamut Shark, and then into a rank 7 on top of that without the need of a link. But again, there are 2 back row monsters here, or not monsters, but 2 back row cards. So you really don't want to try to invest too much into the extra deck because you'll lose out on a lot of things. 2 cards like Compulse, you're just basically throwing away 2 monsters at that point, if you go for a rank 4 play per se. So he's just going to basically call his bluff. I'm going to try to put game on the board, and if you don't have something to stop it, you know, we're going to go game 3. So that's exactly what happens. So swinging with 15 from the Lind, 17 from the Teus, and Megalo double attacking at 24, which would have been game exactly, is going to be met with Compulse on the attempt of that first attack. So he won't even let the one attack go through successfully. He says, you know what, Compulse that back to your hand. I don't even want to get any lower in life points as is, because you know you're already almost halfway down at this point. So main phase 2, gonna commit a little bit more to the play, going into Alacia and setting 1 and passing. Again, Alacia is pretty nice here with the discard. It can allow you to search some key resources during the opponent's turn and also act as a bit of a roadblock, but Nibiru the Primal Being comes down and says otherwise. I believe the special summons, or the summons, were the Teus, the Pike, the Megalo, and the Lind, and then the 5th summon being the Alacia. So opting there to use the main decked Nibiru, because I don't believe he sides Nibiru currently in his list. Again, if you guys are interested in seeing the Paleo list, it should already be up on the channel. And for those potentially interested in a Mermail list, I am working on potentially new Mermail stuff at the time being. Just been pretty busy with some other things currently, and really just waiting for Eternity Code, honestly, and Master Rule 5, where I go really hard with the Mermail stuff. And luckily, we're getting pretty close to that April 1st date, so don't, you know, be too bummed out about the lack of Mermail stuff lately. They will be back soon on the channel with plenty of new stuff to go about them. So we're going to see the swap come down, and then brings out Ronin as well, in attack position rather. And to note that this token has 1600 attack and 0 defense, since it only tributed a link monster, just one, the Alacia. So the Ronin can beat over the token, and then he's going to swing in with 1000 swap and the 3k Nibiru. Now this is actually just more damage than it would have been, you know, if he would have made Totally Awesome first, then go into the battle phase. You know, he'll swing over the token for 22 and then attack for 3k. So he's actually getting in a little extra damage here. I believe that's probably the most damage he would have been able to get in. Looking for that toad in the extra deck. Where is it? There it is. It's not on the top for some reason, but finding it eventually. Setting one back row. And that will do it for his turn. Passing it back over to our Mermail player now. Having to deal with a Totally Awesome, and having to deal with 2 set back row also. Having Sphere now. So he's going to start the turn with Sphere. And we'll see an Ash Blossom. Because, yeah, that's something that can be done. And then standby phase. The Totally Awesome, of course. Going to summon out the Dupe Frog. Little battle phase protection. Now, fun fact. I don't know how about many two people like know this, especially many people don't play Sphere. Is that when it's face up, you can't actually activate spell cards. So that's like a little niche thing that can come up sometimes. As well, that card is up, you can't actually play spell cards. And there's a compulse on the normal summon of the Prince. That one hurts a little bit right there. That one stings. The commit to the normal summon and its Prince. I mean, looking on the bright side, it can just be used as discard fodder now to revive a potential Atlantean out of the graveyard. But I don't think he has a single Atlantean in his graveyard to begin with currently. I think there's really just only been Mermail plays, because his build is a bit heavier on the Mermails, as you seen like cards like Turge, Hild, Lind, and the Sphere package in there as well. And it looks like we're going to see Teus, discarding it for cost, of course, the Megalo. So in his hand, it looked like he had the Teus, the Megalo, and the Prince, which isn't terrible. So fortunately, that Teus is going to get negated. So basically just -2 right now. And he's got nothing else. And fortunately, the Mermail deck losing 2-0. You hate to see it, especially for such a fan favorite like Mermail. A favorite of mine and favorite of a lot of yours, I'm sure. Taking a loss 0-2. But it is what it is. Paleo, I feel like, has a very good matchup there. You know, you have such good cards that, you know, counter things like, you know, Prince and stuff. Like, you have Compulse and Canadian, things like that. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. And yeah, of course, I want to mention a special thank you to my Tier 3 YouTube members, supporters here, Travis Harris, Academic Thick, and Ty. Really appreciate you guys. And if you guys want to become a YouTube member and help support the channel in that way and get in on some exclusive perks and rewards, check out hitting that join button down below as well. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, Winter Kill signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one.